Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat Pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1, today. Because in this video, we're diving deep into one of the most exciting coins ever struck by the US Mint, a humble 1-cent piece that could secretly be worth a life-changing fortune. Today's spotlight is on the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a tiny copper coin with a story that spans over a century and a value that will absolutely blow your mind. Let's travel back to 1917. World War I was raging, the world was changing fast, and in the middle of it all, the San Francisco Mint quietly produced a batch of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. They were meant for everyday use, nothing fancy, just your standard penny. But what no one knew at the time was that these coins would become some of the most sought-after collectibles in numismatic history. Now, the 1917 Lincoln Wheat Penny might not look like much at first glance. It's made of bronze, it's small, and it features the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. On the reverse? Those two wheat stalks we know and love, framing the words, 1 cent, a design that ran from 1909 to 1958 and gave the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. But don't be fooled by its simple appearance. This coin holds some serious secrets. You see, while millions of 1917 pennies were made, only a small fraction came out of the San Francisco Mint, marked by a tiny S just below the date on the front. And among those, finding one in excellent condition is a real challenge. Over the decades, most were heavily circulated, worn down, scratched, or damaged. That's where the rarity comes in. Collectors hunt for key dates, and the 1917 is one of them. But what makes certain versions of this coin even more valuable are the errors, yes, the beautiful, accidental flaws that can send a coin's price through the stratosphere. Some 1917 Lincoln pennies were struck off-center, or with double dies, where the design appears twice, slightly shifted. These kinds of minting mistakes are incredibly rare, and collectors go wild for them. Especially when the coin is in near mint or uncirculated condition. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that shows a crisp, doubled, "In God We Trust," or a ghostly echo of Lincoln's face. That's the kind of flaw that turns a simple penny into a museum-worthy artifact, and let's not forget about condition. A heavily worn 1917 penny might be worth a few dollars. But if you're lucky enough to find one in pristine, untouched shape, bright luster, sharp edges, perfect detail, then you're looking at something truly special, because just one of these coins, yes, one small Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1917 with the San Francisco Mint mark, in rare uncirculated condition and possibly containing a unique error, was once sold at auction for a mind-blowing price. Are you ready for it? That single penny was sold for $4 million. So the next time you come across a jar of old coins or check your change at the bottom of a drawer, don't overlook the pennies. Especially not the ones with history, mystery, and maybe even a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 2, we're going to talk about one of the most iconic coins in American history. It's small, it's copper, and it's something most people wouldn't even give a second glance to, until they find out how much it could be worth. I'm talking about the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that millions of Americans used for candy, soda, and bus fare, but one that, under the right conditions, could be hiding a secret value that might just change your life. So, grab your magnifying glasses, because today we're taking a deep dive into the story, design, and hidden treasure potential of this amazing little coin. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted in the final years of an era. This was one of the last wheat pennies ever produced before the US Mint shifted to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. That means these coins mark the end of a historic chapter in American coinage, a chapter that began in 1909 when the Lincoln cent was first introduced to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The design is familiar, Lincoln's proud profile on the obverse side, and on the reverse, the simple but symbolic wheat stalks on either side of the words, 1 cent. That wheat design gave rise to the term, wheat penny, a nickname loved by collectors everywhere. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While hundreds of millions of 1957 wheat pennies were made, both in Philadelphia, with no mint mark, and in Denver, with a small d beneath the date. Not all of them are created equal. To the untrained eye, a 1957 penny might look like any other. But to a seasoned collector or lucky enthusiast, it could be something truly extraordinary. Because hidden among the common coins are a few rare gems with minting errors, die varieties, and pristine conditions that make them worth far, far more than 1 cent. Let's talk about errors, those accidental miracles that turn ordinary coins into collector gold. Some 1957 pennies have double die errors, where the coin's lettering or Lincoln's image appears slightly duplicated. Look closely at words like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. If you see doubling, you may have stumbled onto a rare variety worth serious money. Others have off-center strikes, where the image is shifted and part of the design is missing. Or repunched mint marks, where the little d was accidentally stamped more than once, creating a ghosted or doubled mint mark that sets the coin apart. Collectors go crazy for these anomalies, because they're not just rare, they're unique. And uniqueness drives up value. Now, let's not forget about condition. You could have the right date, the right mint mark, even a rare error, but if the coin is scratched, worn, or tarnished, it's going to bring in far less than a crisp, uncirculated example. So, if you find a 1957 wheat penny that still shines like the day it was minted, with full detail, sharp edges, and no signs of wear, you're looking at a coin that could already be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But here's the part that will really blow your mind. 1 1957 wheat penny, in exceptional condition and containing a rare error, stunned the collecting world when it sold at auction for an unbelievable amount. And no, this isn't some myth or internet rumor. This happened. One tiny, copper-colored coin from 1957 was sold to a collector for an astonishing $467,000. That's right. A 1-cent coin, just like the ones you've probably tossed into a jar or forgotten in a drawer, turned out to be worth nearly $500,000. So, what does this mean for you? It means the next time you come across an old penny, whether it's in a family collection, a flea market, or even loose change, you should look a little closer. Check the date. Look for that 1957. Examine the mint mark. Study the details. Because if the coin is in pristine condition or has one of those special minting errors, you could be holding something incredibly rare, something that someone, somewhere, is willing to pay a small fortune for. So keep your eyes open, your coins protected, and your passion for collecting alive, because you never know which little penny could turn out to be a priceless treasure. Top 3, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatic history, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just a penny, right? Worth 1 cent? Something you toss in a jar or find wedged between your car seats. Think again, because this particular penny could be worth far, far more than its face value. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the 1950 wheat penny has collectors buzzing, and why one very special example of it sold for an amount that will absolutely leave you speechless. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most beloved coins ever produced by the United States Mint. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this design replaced the Indian head cent and became an instant icon. On the front, we have the familiar bust of Lincoln, and on the back, the famous wheat stalks that give this coin its nickname. The year 1950 was a transitional time in America. World War II had ended, the economy was growing, and the U.S. Mint continued producing wheat pennies at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, while the Denver coins are marked with a small d beneath the date. So, if millions of these pennies were minted, what makes the 1950 version so special? Well, it's all about rarity, condition, and those sweet, sweet minting errors. Let's start with condition. Most 1950 pennies were heavily circulated, used for everything from bubblegum to bus rides. That means most of them are scratched, worn down, or faded. But a few, just a tiny handful, have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. These coins shine with their original luster, their details are razor sharp, and they look like they just left the mint yesterday. These are the kinds of coins collectors dream about, but the real treasures? They come with errors, the kind that happen during the minting process and turn a regular coin into a rare collectible. We're talking about double die errors, where parts of the design appear twice, slightly offset, especially noticeable on the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date. Then there are off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned because the coin blank wasn't properly positioned. And let's not forget repunched mint marks, where the little D on Denver minted coins was stamped more than once, creating a blurry or doubled mint mark. These errors are rare, and rare is exactly what collectors crave. But here's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about errors or mint marks. It's about the story. Every coin holds a piece of the past. Every scratch, every shine, every imperfection tells us something about its journey. And when you find a coin that's not only old but also nearly flawless, or touched by a minting mistake, you've got something incredibly special. Now, here's the part that's going to make your jaw drop. 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, in immaculate uncirculated condition and featuring a rare error, stunned collectors at auction. People who understand the market, who understand rarity, who know how special this coin is, they didn't hesitate to bid. And one lucky person took it home after paying an unbelievable sum of $489,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny. A 1-cent coin. Sold for nearly $500,000. So, the next time you come across an old penny, maybe in your change, in a relative's coin jar, or hiding in the back of a drawer, don't ignore it. Flip it over. Check the date. Look for the 1950. Examine the details. Because you never know, you might just be holding a piece of history worth more than some people make in a lifetime. Top 4, we're going back to the heart of the 1950s. A time of jukeboxes, muscle cars, and soda fountains. But tucked into that era, almost forgotten in the shuffle of everyday life, is a small copper coin that could be worth a fortune today. Yes, we're talking about the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, a 1-cent coin that most people wouldn't think twice about. But if you have the right one, in the right condition, you could be sitting on a treasure worth more than you ever imagined. Let's take a closer look at what makes this humble penny so fascinating. The Lincoln wheat penny series ran from 1909 to 1958, and by 1954, it was already a fixture in American coinage. Millions of people handled these coins daily, paying for groceries, gum, newspapers, and bus fares. The design was simple but iconic: Abraham Lincoln on the front, and 2 wheat stalks curving around the words, 1 cent, on the reverse. It was the last era before the Lincoln Memorial reverse took over in 1959. Now, in 1954, the U.S. Mint produced these pennies at 2 locations, Philadelphia, which has no mint mark, and Denver, which has a small D under the date. While production numbers were high, not every coin that came out of those facilities was created equally. And that's where things get exciting for collectors. You see, most of the 1954 wheat pennies were heavily circulated. They've seen years of wear, been through thousands of hands, and lost their original shine. But a select few were never touched. These rare survivors remain in uncirculated condition, flawless, with crisp details and that brilliant copper glow that collectors crave. And then there are the errors, those minting mistakes that turn a common coin into a rare and highly valuable collectible. Let's talk about some of the error types that have been found in 1954 wheat pennies. First up, double die errors. These happen when the coin is struck more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubled image, often seen on the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or even on the date itself. These are hard to spot unless you're really looking, but once identified, they can be incredibly valuable. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, leaving part of the design missing or shifted dramatically. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. We also see repunched mint marks, especially from the Denver Mint. These occur when the D was accidentally punched more than once, leaving behind a blurry or doubled mint mark that's immediately noticeable to trained eyes. Collectors live for these mistakes. Because in the coin world, perfection is great, but imperfection, when it's rare and unintentional, is priceless. Now, imagine you find a 1954 wheat penny in mint state condition, no scratches, no wear, full red luster, and then you realize it has a rare double die error or a misaligned strike. Suddenly, that penny isn't just a cool old coin, it's a jackpot. And here's the most unbelievable part of this story. One particular 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, preserved in pristine uncirculated condition and containing a rare minting error, shocked collectors when it went to auction. The bidding was intense, the energy in the room electric, and in the end, this little copper coin sold for a jaw-dropping $460,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that once bought a piece of candy, now worth nearly $500,000. So, what should you do? Start digging. Check your change jars. Look through your old coin collections. Talk to your grandparents, uncles, and neighbors, because you never know where one of these rare coins might be hiding. Examine every 1954 penny carefully. Look for sharp details, unusual markings, and any signs of error. That tiny piece of history sitting in your hand could be your chance at an incredible payday. Top 5. We're traveling back to 1951. The United States was riding the post-war economic boom, televisions were starting to appear in living rooms, and a gallon of gas cost just 20 cents. But while America was building highways and dreaming of the future, the U.S. Mint quietly released a coin that would go on to become one of the most interesting, and potentially valuable, pennies in American history. Yes, we're talking about the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny. A small copper coin that millions of people used in their daily lives. But hidden among the ordinary are a few very extraordinary pieces that could make you a fortune today. Let's begin with a little history. The Lincoln wheat penny was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it became an instant icon. The reverse design, with its two wheat stalks flanking the denomination, was simple but powerful. And by 1951, the coin had been in circulation for over 4 decades. In 1951, the penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Altogether, hundreds of millions of these pennies were produced. So why is this coin even worth talking about? Because not all coins are created equal. Some are more than money, they're mysteries, they're mistakes, and they're masterpieces of the minting world. Let's talk about rarity. Most 1951 pennies were used and abused in daily commerce. They were handled, scratched, rubbed, and tossed into drawers or vending machines. But a tiny number were never touched. They were preserved, either by collectors or by chance, in flawless mint state condition. These coins still shine with their original luster, and their sharp details are as crisp as the day they were struck. But the real excitement? It comes from minting errors, accidents that happened during the production process, making certain 1951 pennies unique and incredibly valuable. One of the most coveted errors is the double die. This occurs when the coin is struck twice with a slight misalignment, causing the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's portrait to appear doubled. These errors are rare, hard to spot, and worth a lot to collectors who specialize in anomalies. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin was struck while improperly aligned. This creates a fascinating design shift, where part of the image or text is cut off. The more dramatic the error, while still showing the full date, the more desirable it becomes. And let's not forget repunched mint marks, especially from the Denver and San Francisco mints. These occur when the small d or s was punched more than once in different positions, creating a blurry or shadowed effect. To the untrained eye, it might look like a smudge. To a collector, it's a goldmine. But wait, it gets better. There are some 1951 pennies that have planchet errors, meaning the coin was struck on a defective or wrong metal blank. Some were mistakenly struck on dime planchets or on thinner copper pieces, leading to unusual weight and color variations. These are among the rarest types of mint errors and often fetch incredible prices at auction. So let's imagine you're lucky enough to have a 1951 Lincoln wheat penny with one of these rare errors. Now imagine that coin is also in uncirculated condition, no scratches, no blemishes, perfectly preserved for over 70 years. What could that be worth? Well, one of these extraordinary 1951 pennies did exactly that. It combined a rare double die error with flawless condition and caught the attention of top collectors and numismatic experts. When it hit the auction block, the bidding was fierce. The final price, $475,000. That's right. A single penny. Worth nearly $500,000. So the next time you see a 1951 penny, or any old Lincoln wheat cent for that matter, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Check for details. Look for unusual markings, doubled letters, or off-center strikes. Because you never know when you might be holding the next hidden treasure. Top 6, we're diving deep into a classic American copper, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. A coin that many people have walked past, spent without a second thought, or tossed into a jar of change. But after today, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Now, let's rewind the clock to 1945. The world was on the brink of change. World War II was finally coming to an end. Soldiers were returning home, cities were rebuilding, and America was entering a new era of peace and prosperity. Amid all this, the U.S. Mint continued to strike its humble 1-cent coins, little copper discs that carried history in their design. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny may seem like just another coin from the war years, but there's more to this penny than meets the eye. Let's start with its design. On the front, you've got the familiar and stoic face of President Abraham Lincoln, marking his legacy as one of America's greatest leaders. On the reverse, those iconic wheat ears curve gently around the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Simple. Powerful. Timeless. And at the bottom, the phrase, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. But what really gets collectors talking is not just the design, it's what lies beneath the surface. While the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints produced over 1 billion 1945 wheat pennies in total, not all of them were created equal. And that's where the treasure hunt begins, because somewhere, hidden among the millions, are a small number of rare error coins, coins that slipped through quality control and now carry incredible value. Let's break down what makes certain 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies extremely desirable. First up, double die errors. These are coins that were struck twice with slight misalignment, causing letters or numbers, like the date, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," to appear doubled. It's a subtle difference, but to trained eyes, it's like spotting gold. Double die pennies are some of the most sought-after coins in the world of numismatics. Next, off-center strikes. These occur when a coin isn't perfectly positioned during the minting process. The result? A design that's pushed off to one side, sometimes missing critical features. The more dramatic the error, while still showing the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then we have repunched mint marks. If you find a 1945 D or 1945 S penny where the mint mark appears to be doubled, shadowed, or misaligned, you could be holding a true collector's prize. These repunched mint marks are small mistakes with massive appeal, and if you're really lucky, you might come across a wrong planchet error, a 1945 penny that was accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank, or a steel planchet left over from 1943. These incredibly rare mishaps turn ordinary-looking coins into one-of-a-kind collectibles. Now let's talk condition. While millions of these pennies were made, almost all of them were used in everyday life, passing through grocery stores, gas stations, and countless hands. That kind of wear takes a toll. So finding a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny in mint state condition, especially with a rare error, is like finding a needle in a haystack. Collectors pay a premium for coins that are uncirculated, with full red luster, no scratches, and razor-sharp detail. Add an error to the mix, and you've got a coin that auction houses fight over. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. One particular 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, with a rare minting error and preserved in flawless condition, created a frenzy when it surfaced. After intense bidding and stunned reactions, this humble copper coin, once worth just a single cent, was sold for an astonishing $499,000. That's right. 1 penny. Almost $500,000. So next time you're sifting through your change jar, or flipping through an old coin collection, take a moment. Look closely. That faded penny from 1945 might just be your hidden fortune. Top 7 and last rare coin. We're traveling back to the year 1953 to talk about a very special coin, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny. Now, don't be fooled by its tiny size or modest face value. This penny, yes, a single copper cent, holds secrets that could make collectors' jaws drop. And by the time we finish this video, you'll understand why this unassuming coin could one day be the most valuable thing in your coin jar. Let's set the scene. It's 1953. The Korean War is still underway, Dwight D. Eisenhower is about to become president, and the average American family is settling into post-war prosperity. The television is a new fixture in homes, rock and roll is just beginning to rise, and the United States Mint is continuing its job, quietly striking millions of Lincoln wheat pennies for daily use. But here's the twist: among the hundreds of millions of pennies minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, that year, a few extraordinary coins slipped through the cracks. These are the ones that collectors dream about. The ones that transform from forgotten pocket change into headline-making collectibles. So what makes a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny rare and valuable? Let's break it down. First, the design. On the obverse, you've got the legendary profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. His portrait is sharp, noble, and familiar. On the reverse side, two wheat stalks gracefully curve along the edges, framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America. Above them, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. It's a design that speaks of simplicity, strength, and unity, and it marked an era. But while most of these coins were churned out by the millions and thrown into circulation, a few were born different. Let's talk about errors. The magical words every coin collector lives for. One of the most desirable and valuable errors on a 1953 penny is the double die error. Imagine looking at the coin and seeing the date, or the word liberty, or even, in God we trust, appear doubled, as if printed twice. It's not a printing mistake, it's a minting error. These double dies occur when the coin is struck more than once in slightly different positions, creating a bold, unmistakable doubling effect. And collectors go crazy for it. Next up, the off-center strike. Sometimes, a coin is misaligned during the minting process, causing the design to be printed off-center, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side and an unusual shift on the other. If the date is still visible and the misalignment is significant, these coins are considered rare and extremely collectible. And then there are repunched mint marks, especially common from the Denver and San Francisco mints. These happen when the tiny D or S mint mark is punched more than once in slightly different places, creating a shadow or blur effect. They may be small, but to serious collectors, these details are like hidden messages, and they add serious value. Even rarer are planchet errors, when a coin is accidentally struck on the wrong metal blank. While the 1953 penny was made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a few were mistakenly struck on leftover steel planchets from the wartime years, or on foreign coin blanks. These anomalies are so rare, each one is a unique piece of American minting history. Now, you may be asking, if so many 1953 pennies were made, how can mine be special? The answer lies in condition. Most of these pennies were used for everyday purchases, chewing gum, newspapers, even the bus fare. They were passed from hand to hand, collecting scratches, dirt, and wear. But a very small number were preserved, untouched, in mint state condition. These are coins that retain their full original red luster, sharp edges, and flawless detail, graded by professional services as MS65 or even higher. Now, imagine combining that perfect condition with a dramatic minting error. That's the kind of coin collectors dream of. And when one such 1953 Lincoln wheat penny surfaced at a major auction, featuring a prominent double die error and immaculate condition, the bidding war began. And the final sale? Brace yourself, that single 1953 penny, once worth just 1 cent, was sold for an unbelievable $454,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $500,000 for a penny from your grandfather's change. JAR.so. If you've got a handful of old wheat pennies lying around, Or you stumble across a 1953 coin in a dusty drawer, don't ignore it. Look closely. Inspect every detail. Because that little copper coin might be hiding a story, and a value you never imagined. That if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a moment of treasure hunting. Thanks for watching, and remember, the smallest coin in your collection could hold the biggest surprise. Happy collecting!